Hi, I'm August Keller, and this is my review of Tron Ares. So, this movie is almost all exposition. Even when it's developing its characters or its drama, it's done so through exposition. This really convolutes the narrative, which is already pretty formulaic, but it also really saps the drama, the emotions of it. It's very distant because it's done through exposition. It wholly prioritizes the plot, so characters are simplistic and their emotions are unearned. There is a backstory to a protagonist, but it's again told through exposition, and it's really kind of done on the sideline while the plot is really what the focus is. So that backstory doesn't really have much impact or connection. All this really alienates viewer connection. It's hard to relate to a story like this. There's also insufficient humor. The movie feels very kind of self-serious. The dialogue is very blunt. Like I said, it's all exposition, and a lot of times it's told very directly. The science is very shallow. It's a movie about technology, and it doesn't really seem interested in actually building a believable world around that technology. It's very cliche. There's a lot of contrivances, and there's even some sequel bait at the end, which I always just find kind of pretty lame, especially when it's not necessary. Worse, the themes introduce a lot of hot button issues like AI, surveillance, privatization, and it doesn't do it does so without really considering those ramifications. It almost seems to kind of like hand wave these concepts and not really consider how complicated they are, and it really just wants to kind of glorify them or just use them for fun. So even when it does wax poetic about the value of human consciousness, I think that's the main theme it's trying to do. It all feels very painfully obvious. It's not saying anything new. It's saying stuff that's all been said before, and it's also saying it very obviously. It's like clearly trying to make some kind of statement. So it says boring stuff, and it says it in a boring way. None of this is helped by the dull acting. I know some people are saying but Jared Leto, he's supposed to be a robot. He's supposed to be robotic. But I think there are a lot of performances out there where it's robotic, but it's also endearing. Or you see evolution. I mean, his character is supposed to arc, but he's just this dull blank slate. There's just a general lack of personality in this movie. I mean, Greta Lee tries, and I really do like Greta Lee, and I think she does what she can with this material, but there's not a lot here to work with. So anyways, although it may rush through the motions of a story, Tron Ares does so with this cold confusion. It's just lacking heart, and it's also kind of just all over the place. It doesn't really seem to have like a core that it's built around. It's just kind of building outward in, like it has the plot, and then the core is like an afterthought rather than starting with the heart and building a story around that. Technically, Tron Ares is style over substance. Its direction doesn't have relatability, and that's made worse by it being kind of overstimulated. I mean, neither of those problems, it's not like too extreme on either of those fronts, but because it's both of those things, they really kind of make it obvious. They really kind of accentuate each other in a bad way. The cinematography has mounts and lighting and motion, but that's undercut by a lot of clutter, and surprisingly, there's some drab lack of color sometimes. I mean, when they're in the computer world, there's color, but when they're in the real world, there's less color than I would like. And again, there's some clutter, like especially in the action sequences. There's a little too much going on. It's a little busy. The editing, I felt it was kind of clunky, the way it cross-cuts between story threads. It just kind of feels arbitrary and kind of like really sputters on momentum. And then also there's a lack of resolution. Like I said, there's a lot of sequel bait in this movie. So the resolution feels incomplete. So because of that, the editing leaves some things to be desired, and I actually think is kind of a detriment. The sound is good. There's abundant genre elements. The music is excellent in isolation. I've been listening to the soundtrack ever since. But the fact that it's electronic, of course, is fitting. But I do think it overpowers the film at times. Sometimes it's like just too grand. It's too awesome, and it's just kind of like this scene isn't that awesome. I think it's a little inappropriate actually how grand this music is for something not so important. And so I sometimes feel like the movie's like there for the music rather than the music being there for the movie. It's still great music though. I like the music is obviously one of the best parts of the movie, if not the best part. The production design has sleek neon iconography, but less world building than desired. Like I said, they're in the real world a lot, and I think that's kind of all the real world stuff is pretty generic. When they're in the computer world, that stuff is cool, and I wish there was more of it. Um, I think Jared Leto, he's underwhelming as a lead. I don't know why he keeps getting these roles, but I don't. I just don't see why he is considered a leading man, and I think that really sinks the cast. I think the supporting cast is interesting. There's a lot of skill and diversity around him, but him being the centerpiece is kind of just weighs it all down. The effects have a lot of practical and digital combinations, which are very convincing, but there are some uncanny moments which I didn't love. But overall, it's a positive. So, in conclusion, I feel like Tron Ares is wasted potential. There's a lot of cool aspects of this movie, a lot of things and I do think the premise is an interesting premise. And but I just think it's missing some core key elements that make it me mostly indifferent. There are things that I really like about the movie, and there's things that I really dislike about the movie, and those come together to make me feel kind of just mixed and kind of meh on the movie, which is a shame because I would have liked to like this movie, and I think there are a lot of pieces there that I do like, and I think if they just had replaced a few of those flaws with things that are just mediocre or even good, this could be a great movie. There's a great movie to be made in the Tron franchise, I think, and it's a shame that this one wasn't one of those. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. If you like what I'm doing here, please feel free to like and subscribe. I also have an Instagram linked in the description. I'd love support there or here, whatever you can do, I appreciate. But at the very least, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, thanks.